Good morning and grand rising to everybody out there. Happy Friday Eve, aka Thursday. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we have a busy, jam-packed show for you today. Let me bring in my co-host, Big O. What up, Big O?
Good morning, Trey Holiday. It's Thursday. It feels like Thursday. It's almost Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. We got a little bit of sunshine out here. And like you say, you're right. We got a busy show today. Right now, we got Kevin Schofield back there in the green room. He's talking about city council presentations made by the HSD department and the SPD. Then we're going to be talking to Mike Davis, talking about clapback culture tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to be talking to funny man and comedian. He's so funny, I forgot his name. Nate Jackson. Funny man, Nate Jackson. And then we're also joined by Besa, talking about this weekend's Rewind with Besa. Before we jump into everything, though, I want to take this opportunity to, first of all, say thank you for tuning in and remind you there's a great opportunity right now for you to tag and share the stream. Share the stream with people who you feel could appreciate or learn something from culturally relevant news, information, and headlines emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Moving at a brisk pace today because we got a lot going on. We're going to jump into our first clip right here. This is from ABC Good Morning America this morning with an update from the George Floyd trial.
Now to the trial of the former police officer accused of killing George Floyd. This morning, the judge is set to address a potential third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin as jury selection continues. Alex Perez has the latest.
Breaking this morning after first striking the charge, Judge Peter Cahill reversing course, now granting a motion to reinstate a third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin, the former cop accused of killing George Floyd. The decision is something the prosecutor has been pushing for. Chauvin, who was seen pinning Floyd down for more than 9 minutes, has pleaded not guilty and is already also charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Floyd's cousin, who was in court Wednesday, says the family wants to see accountability.
What does justice mean for you?
I really just want to see the criminal justice system work the way that it's supposed to have the evidence in this case be heard.
Both sides questioning 7 potential jurors before settling on 2.
Only you know yourself well enough to say that I can be fair and impartial.
The first black man seated on the jury telling attorneys he has a favorable opinion of both the Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter groups and that he's familiar with where the incident occurred.
I also used to live not far from that area before when I first met my wife, so that's why I was like, it could have been me.
Also seated, a white male in his 30s or 40s who says he's seen that hard-to-watch video of Chauvin on Floyd more than once and said he supports Black Lives Matter.
When you look at the phrase Black Lives Matter, yes, they do matter, and I don't know why anyone would be against that movement.
A total of 5 jurors have now been seated, 4 men and 1 woman. The court needs 12 and 2 alternates.
And we learned in court that 3 other former officers charged in connection with George Floyd's death will not be testifying at this trial. They will face their own trial in August.
All right, so we see there, it's moving forward, and they're seating jurors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know so many eyes all over the country are on this case, so I'm glad that things are moving forward and that they're trying to get a robust jury.
Yeah, and of course, like we said, we'll keep everybody posted on that. Wanted to get one more thing in here before we bring in Kevin Schofield. Yesterday, Paula Sardinas, Paula was here with us last Friday from the WBBBA, the Washington Build Back Black Alliance. She actually gave public comment on a few pieces of legislation down in Olympia yesterday, but she spoke on the bill that would make Juneteenth a holiday here in the state of Washington.
Morning. Thank you, Chair Hunt, Vice Chair Cooterer, Ranking Member Wilson. I am Paula Sardinas, a member of the National Black Professional Lobbyists Association. I'm also representing the Washington Build Back Black Alliance. We are teachers, we are scientists, we are doctors, we are Black nonprofit CEOs, but we're also members of labor. We represent the Black community, like I said, from Spokane to Bellingham, but most importantly, I'm a daughter of the South. I was born in Georgia, where my great-grandmother was actually born on a plantation. We did not grow up celebrating the 4th of July. We grew up celebrating Juneteenth. One of the things we understand is that the Black community is not a monolith. There's not one voice that speaks for the whole of the community. In 47 states, Juneteenth has been recognized by acclamation or proclamation of governor. There are 5 states where it is a holiday supported by a lot of our Black state workers, a lot of our youth, a lot of our colleges, a lot of our universities. It became a rallying cry last summer when we saw Mr. Floyd killed. As a private sector CEO, I gave every single one of my employees the day off for Black remembrance and Black education, including employees who are not Black, they were white, so they could learn more about our history. We strongly encourage and support this good legislation, as we have gone to all 49 legislative districts and had the conversations and done the stakeholder work over a period of many years. I'd like to thank Representative Morgan and Governor Inslee for bringing this good bill, and we strongly support it. Thank you.
All right, Paula Sardinas. Paula's been busy down there in Olympia.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I know resonates with so many in community. As we saw last year, over 30,000 people coming to Juneteenth March and learning more, coming to Juneteenth celebrations, being able to connect with business owners on the ground. This is huge. And I'm glad that it is now at this level so that we can really recognize Juneteenth in this entire state.
Yeah, good stuff. Paula sends out a lot of updates, so we're gonna from down in Olympia. So we're gonna continue to keep everybody updated and get Paula back on air as well. So I made all these cool motion graphics. So this is a home crafted show, and you know what I'm saying? I make this stuff myself. So I've got to play this here. We've got Kevin Schofield back there in the green room. Kevin's going to come and talk to us about City Council and the presentations that Human Services Department and the Seattle Police Department made to City Council the other day. Oh, yeah. Can you please bring in Kevin Schofield?
Wow. I've never had like a cool intro graphic before. That's like, thank you.
That was a great photo too, by the way, Kevin.
Yeah, that was back when I had a corporate job and there were, I wasn't taking photos of myself. There's like a professional doing that.
Now you're just bumming around in Converse sweatshirts.
Now I'm just, I'm proudly representing. Like it's a privilege for me to be here. It's always a privilege for me to be here. I always appreciate that you bring me on to talk about important topics. So thank you for
stuff.
that.
And this is important as well. We played a clip from Deputy Mayor Washington the other day during this same session where she had some comments before HSD made their presentation. We didn't have enough time to dive into what HSD said and what the Seattle Police Department said. So wanted you to bring you on today, and we'll talk about maybe you can give a bit of a history of where this $10 million from HSD came from and what they were supposed to do and what the outcome was of that discussion. And then we could talk about whatever Chief DIA mentioned to the City Council.
Yeah, you bet. So starting with the HSD thing. So they have been working for a while on an RFP to get some money out in the community to start doing capacity building for alternatives to SPD for community safety. And this is something that started last summer. It was a request from the community to the City Council to say, hey, if we really believe that long-term we want to downsize SPD and replace it with really community-based solutions and alternatives for reaching community safety, we have to start capacity building those organizations now because they've all been running on shoestring budgets for a long, long time. So let's get some money out there and start investing in building capacity. So when we finally get around to the point where we have a plan and we want them to step up, they're ready to do that. They're ready to grow and step up and take over these responsibilities. So this RFP, it's been a while coming, but it's in place now. It was launched last week, and it's specifically around capacity building and community-led solutions that contribute to overall community safety. And let me sort of read to you, a little bit about. It's 10.4 million altogether. This is kind of their strategy for doing this. They say they want to expand the capacity of community-led solutions that contribute to overall community safety by developing and strengthening the skills, instincts, abilities, processes, and resources that organizations and communities need to survive, adapt, and thrive. So let's really beef up these organizations and make sure they are ready to grow to the next level when they need them. Right? And so they really want to make sure also, as they go through this RFP process and start handing out this money, that it goes to the right kind of organizations and not just sort of the usual suspects of human services organizations. And there are a lot of them that are, that serve a lot of other purposes in the city. So they put some requirements on that I think are really interesting. So they've said that they have to be community-led groups, organizations where the majority of the people in charge of the organization are from the communities that they serve. The organizations have a commitment to building power in the community and or supporting healing from the impact of oppression. They're committed to addressing internalized oppression and or they're affirming all members of the community and are committed to ending all forms of oppression, including ableism, homophobia, transphobia, and misogyny. So they're serious about this. They want to come back to these principles around community-based community safety and make sure that they're really investing in the organizations that are going to help with that. So they're ready when we call on them. They focus on something that has been used for a while called the intercept model, where they look at sort of every step in the process of how somebody ends up entering the criminal justice system, and they process through it and look at where they can intercept on every point to make sure that the results for that person don't get worse, that they get better. So upstream, before they even enter the system, at arrest time, at initial detention, going through the court system, reentry back into society, and probation and parole. Make sure that we've got intercepts that we can do where we catch people and we get them on a better path for each of these. So this RFP was released last week, and applications are due April 9th. They could fund, they think, up to 40 different organizations with this, depending on how much the organizations ask for, and it's 10.4 million altogether. I'll say there's one more really interesting thing that came out of this that I think is an important thing for us to be talking about. In advance of writing all this up as an RFP and putting it out there, the city went and they said they talked to a bunch of community-based organizations. And one of the things that they heard from these organizations as feedback was none of them wanted to do 911 response. One of the things we heard from the advocates is that, as we think about creating these alternatives to SPD responding, it would be nice if, when there's a call from somebody in crisis, a 911 call about somebody in crisis, or a 911 call about a domestic violence incident, or, a number of different situations that come up, that somebody other than SPD can respond. And it would be really preferable if it was actually a community-based organization that has roots in the community rather than like another civilian-based city department. But at this point, they couldn't find any organizations that were willing to take that on. And, you can understand because there are definitely, safety risks in responding to 911 calls, right? But I think this is a moment where we have to say, look, if we're serious about that, if we're committed to that model, then we may have to create some new community-based organizations to be able to do that, because the ones that exist right now may not step up to do it.
Kevin, this is really interesting, the way that this 10.4 million kind of came out. Honestly, so much advocacy and amplification around community-based organizations, but many of them are not actually formalized as like a 501c3. What does this do in terms of ensuring that those kinds of more community-based initiatives are also able to participate in this RFP?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a question. What HSD said so far is that the organizations have to match the the standard requirements for city contractors. So they would either, if they're not a 501c3 organization, they're going to have to go find a fiscal sponsor. And there are fiscal sponsors out there, there's certainly a lot of precedent for doing that. If the contract size gets too big, that can be a bit of an issue. So it would certainly work more for, these sort of loosely based organizations, as you described them, in the community that might want a grant of like $50,000 or less, which, could be a major change for them. Right. But if we get up in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think the city's really going to want to be looking for an organization that is, really a 501c3.
I think that this is a good opportunity here for a lot of people to kind of really put the money where the mouth is, because now the money is there, and a lot of people clearly have been saying, and I think people agree that there needs to be a different response on some of these 911 calls. I mean, we don't have to go too far back to just talk about Derek Hayden, the 44-year-old Seattle University student that was killed by SPD down there on the waterfront. Clearly had a mental break, had a knife, he'd injured himself. Apparently, Port of Seattle police had tried to use 40 millimeter less than lethal, and the tape, which was horrible, kind of shows it all. And the big response that we get is like, okay, there has to be something different than the police showing up with a long gun and killing somebody who's in mental distress. And this is a story that we've heard here in Seattle. You go all the way back to Charlene Laus. This is something that we've heard. If I hear you correctly, what you're saying is there's an opportunity and there's potentially funding and resources available for someone or a group or organization that can propose these alternative solutions in, say, a case like Derek Hayden.
Yeah, exactly. That is one of the many opportunities that HSD is hoping they can address with this, and that was the intent when the advocates last summer asked for this pot of money to be made available in the first place. Asked the city council to budget it to take advantage of these kinds of capacity building organizations, so that in advance of when we really want to say, okay, we're ready to downsize SPD, who can take up the slack? There are organizations that can really step up to that.
Right, and if I heard you correctly, this is the one area where right now with the city, the groups that they talk to and the organizations they talk to, this is the one area where there's a gap. But this also seems to be the area where it's the loud, this is the loudest impact is around direct police response on a 911 call, especially when there's somebody who's suffering from a mental break. This is interesting that you bring this up, because I think that if we really want to move forward here in the city, and we talk about the way that police respond differently in a situation there, like Derek Hayden or Charlene Laus, and they're looking for a community to come for a solution. Now is the time for the community to come for a solution, especially when there's resources to put behind it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I would not diminish the importance, though, of upstream investments too, right? How do we prevent a Derek Hayden from getting to the point where he's having a confrontation with the police in the first place, right? What went wrong in our society and in the safety net around him that got him to that point, right? And how do we, so this is an RFP, and all here is also an opportunity for investments in capacity building in the kind of community-based organizations that would engage with him before that moment, before that critical moment, and get him the help he needs and the support he needs, so he never finds himself in that situation first time. So, I think the importance is this isn't one kind of investment. This really is kind of along that whole intercept model, looking at all the different places where we can engage with people and get them the help they need so they get on a better path.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Kevin. And my question to you is, through the research that you've done on this, do you know how these RFPs are going to be analyzed? Is there like a city-funded group that is going to be looking at this and deciding which projects or which organizations are going to be funded? How is that working?
Yeah, so normally these are. I'm just going through the quick slides here. I'm trying to remember. I believe, and I don't want to misquote here. That I'll have to go back and look. Often for these, so at the end of the day, the Human Services Department is the one who has to make the final decision about, which ones get funded or not. They often for these will set up a community-based sort of review panel to give them feedback on the specific ones. Obviously, there can be conflicts of interest because if people, you really want to have the best sort of subject matter expertise on which of these are good proposals or which are not good proposals, are often submitting their own proposals because this is their area of expertise, right? And this is what the organization does. But I believe, I'd have to go back and double check this. I may be wrong about this. I believe that HSD wanted to set up, sort of an expert panel to help them review and evaluate the proposals they get on this.
All right. So we've got about 6 minutes left in this segment, man. And the other thing that you watched was SPD Chief DIA when he talked to City Council. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, SPD went in front of the City Council the same day, in fact, right after the HSD presentation, to try to prevent a $5.4 million cut to their budget. And this also has an interesting history that goes back to last summer. Last summer, when City Council was first sort of going in and cutting their budget, they told SPD, look, every year you overrun you go over budget on overtime, and then you come back at the end of the year and you ask us for more money to cover the overrun. Don't do that this year. If you do that this year, we're not going to give you the money to do that. You have to go find the money somewhere else in your budget to cover any overrun on that. And in December, SPD came back and said, okay, we did run a little bit over on overtime, and we found the money somewhere else in our budget to cover that. But there's also $5.4 million of other unexpected expenses, things like more separation pay because we had higher attrition, and we need you to cover those things. And the city council said, whoa, wait a minute here. If you hadn't overrun your budget and found other money to pay for that, you could use that other money to pay for this. So we'll cover this, but we're going to take that $5.4 million out of your 2021 budget. And that's the bill that's in front of the city council right now. And it's been in front of it for about a month and it got stalled out a little bit because Judge Robart came in and said, hey, I don't like this continual cutting of the SPD budget thing. And the police monitor, the new police monitor, has also said similar things like, it's getting to the point where it's not clear that you're necessarily living up to your commitments under the consent decree by continuing to cut the budget like this. So, city council, watch your step on this. And so the city council has been kind of slow walking this a little bit, really trying to make sure that they're showing that they're doing the right thing here. So SPD, in initial conversations, came in kind of very polite and quiet, a little bit with the tail between their legs, saying, we think this is important. But this time they came in hard charging. They came in, Chief Diaz came in and said, look, we're in fact, Deputy Mayor Mike Fong came in before him and said, SPD is in a staffing crisis. And they put up the numbers for separations. And they said, and I just want to caveat by saying, this is stuff that SPD is saying. I as a reporter don't necessarily have access to all the underlying data to go verify, as I prefer to do all these kinds of things. But so I'm telling you what they're saying. It's a good thing that we have a police monitor and the DOJ and the Office of Inspector General and CPC all watching over this, who can go in. They have access to go in and verify a lot more of this stuff. But this is what they said. They said, we've had over 200 separations in the last 13 months, and that's really left us very thin, particularly on coverage of 911 calls. And they put up a bunch of stats on the 911 calls. Their goals for 911 response times say, the top priority, the priority 1 calls, they want to be able to respond within 7 minutes. And the next tier down, what they call the priority 2 calls, we want to be able to respond in 15 minutes. And for the last 7 months of 2020, they didn't make either one of those. They were about 7.5 minutes median response time for Pri 1, and it was like 17.5 instead of 15 for the Pri 2 calls. And they went further and said, Chief Diaz last September moved 100 people from other parts of the patrol division specifically into 911 response to make sure that the response times didn't get any worse. But since separations have continued to be really, really high, they've had higher attrition continuing past then. They've now eaten away at the buffer that gave them. And now they say, not only are we not sustaining, the goal that we have, but they think, based upon the models they've done, if they lose another 50 officers, then those response times are going to jump up another 3 minutes. So they go from 7.5 minutes for a Pri 1 call to 10.5 minutes. And again, this is what they're saying. People have to go in and verify this stuff. But it's interesting because from there, what Chief Diaz said was, look, I know you want me to have less staff. I know you want to reduce the size of this department. I understand that. I understand that you made some cuts in the budget to do that. I can live with that. And there are things that I can do that don't involve hiring more staff or running up overtime to mitigate for a lot of the impacts of doing this. But some of those cost money, like investing in technology solutions and things like that. And if you keep taking away my budget, then I can't do those things. I need this $5.4 million so that I can, cover separation pay and some other expenses, but also to be able to sort of have the budget certainty so I can go in and actually pay for some of the things that will let me mitigate this given and keep staffing where it is right now, right? And then he said, look, there's sort of a come to Jesus moment there where he said, look, I appreciate what you're trying to do with the budget and with staffing, but you can't keep changing my budget, because if you keep changing my budget, I don't have certainty that I can actually invest in doing any of these things, right? I can't manage this department like this. And keeping change in the budget is creating an air of uncertainty in SPD that is actually just making the attrition problem worse. The officers see that, and it makes them not want to stay, right? So, and the city council listened hard to all of that. They actually didn't respond very much. They asked a lot of detailed questions about, the attrition numbers and all that, but they didn't really go into depth on that in this meeting. The next meeting they're going to have in 2 weeks, they plan on, maybe doing some amendments to the $5.4 million cut, letting potentially SPD keep some or all of it, and then voting that out of committee. So 2 weeks from now, there's going to be like the big decisions about what happens with this. But yesterday's or I guess it was 2 days ago meeting was really about giving SPD a moment to tell their side of the story, and it was a pretty sober moment to listen to that.
Do you think that the tone is changing now between the Seattle City Council and the Seattle Police Department?
I don't know if it's less frosty between them, but I think the City Council really had a wake up call from Judge Robart, right? When he said, "Hey, I am not going to let you just randomly, capriciously continue to cut SPD's budget. You need to have a plan, and you need to make sure that if you're reducing its capacity, you have other solutions in place that can pick up that slack." And that, in a sense, comes back to what we just talked about with HSD, right? Growing these other community-based solutions to them. So until you have those solutions in place, you don't get to go in and randomly make cuts to SPD's budget. That's what Robart said, and the City Council woke up and like, oh, okay, all right. I guess we need to, slow our roll a little bit on this.
Well, they talk a lot about attrition, and so just quickly, I want to know, if there was any questions regarding the reasons why the attrition is occurring, and maybe talking about some of the kind of culture of SPD. I just don't know if that ever came up, but it sounds like there's something more going on there.
Yeah, it's come up a number of times. If you read the exit interviews, they do exit interviews with everybody who leaves the department. And apparently the thing comes up more often than anything else is officers saying, from their impression, they don't feel like they're supported. And they frequently cite the Seattle City Council. They say, the comments and actions coming out of the City Council make me feel like I'm not supported. And that's, that's their perspective individually, and we could have a good, robust discussion about whether that perspective is actually rooted in truth or not. But that's personally how they feel. That has apparently come out very clear in the exit interviews from police officers.
All right, Kevin Schofield, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning. You're always able to put these things in bite sizes. I encourage everybody.
Big nerdy bite sizes, yeah.
You were real nerdy today, but not so wordy. I'm gonna tell you, man, you get more and more concise here on air. But I encourage everybody to check out Kevin at sccinsight.com. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right. So look, we're getting ready to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have Mike Davis. Look at Mike Davis, looks so cool right there, huh? That's our guy. We're gonna take a quick break right now, our anniversary break, and we'll be right back. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey everybody, it's a celebration and you're invited to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Morning Update Show with us at Converge Media. Join us on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for a special episode of the Morning Update Show as we look back at our first year on air and celebrate the bright future before us. So save the date and join me and my partner in crime, Trey Holiday, on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special, live across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah, big shout out to Gary and his team up there, man. Edited, put that together last night. It's the draft, but yeah, March 19th, 7 p.m. Very special episode of the Morning Update Show. It's going to be lit. Man, we're looking back at the last year, and actually our next guest, I think our next few guests, we got Nate Jackson in the green room too. I think he has a show that night, but I'm sure he'll pre-record something to help celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the morning show. But please bring in Mike Davis from the South Seattle Emerald. Man, are you driving? He's muted. You're muted, man.
I'm not driving. I'm in the car, but I'm not driving.
Wow, man, you're a realist.
Man,
Look, I got stuff to do. I got to get on the morning update show.
but you know, it was important for me to be here, so we here.
Clearly it is. Usually we ban these kind of situations, but because it's Mike Davis, we tell people, man, if you're on the phone in the car, man, we're gonna talk to you another day. But it's you. And today you have Clapback Culture tonight at 7 p.m. with Julia Jesse. Tell us real quick, man, what are you guys talking about?
Man, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're gonna talk about this STEMI. We're gonna talk about the whole COVID relief. We're gonna dive deep into that. We also got some fun stuff though, man. We're gonna talk about the royal family, and a lot of people got surprised by their racism, which is shocking to me. Y'all should have been known. But we're gonna jump into that. We're gonna talk a little bit about the vaccines and how they're trying to push Johnson & Johnson out into the marginalized communities and kind of what that means for the people. So we got a full show tonight. It's going to be fun. So hopefully y'all can tune in.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
You know what's crazy real quick? Actually, the camera, the car said it is dope. Who's that in the back seat?
Oh, that's my daughter, man. That's my 7-year-old. Imani, you want to wave? You're on camera. Hey.
Hey.
Imani means peace.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I'll just say this, and we'll let you go. It is like, man, how is anybody shocked about this royal family? Like, this is saying, I used to live in a lot of Commonwealth countries. Uganda's a Commonwealth country, Tanzania, Commonwealth country, Kenya, South Africa. Like, this is the same family, man.
That's
anybody surprised by colonialism.
Right. And one of the things that really shocked me in that story was that people were surprised to hear that they were worried about how dark the baby's skin might be. And I'm like, about colorism in 2021? Like, that's ridiculous.
Wow.
All right. Well, look, we're going to let you go right now. And want to remind everybody, tune in tonight, 7 p.m., Clapback Culture, Mike Davis and Julia Jesse. We'll catch up with you later, Mike.
Thanks for always keeping it real, brother.
Of course. I'll see y'all soon.
Peace.
Bro, from the car and everything. Man, he's a real one. All right, take another short break. We're repeating our message here. Anniversary. Oh, no, hold on. Man, you know what? I spent time making this thing.
You got the graphics.
Next up, Nate Jackson. You see Nate? Man, that's love right there. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey everybody, it's a celebration and you're invited to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the Morning Update Show with us at Converge Media. Join us on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for a special episode of the Morning Update Show as we look back at our first year on air and celebrate the bright future before us. So save the date and join me and my partner in crime, Trey Holiday, on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for the Morning Update Show 1 year anniversary special, live across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh man, we're moving along, huh?
I know.
Schofield, Mike Davis in the car.
Getting through it.
Man, Nate Jackson told me, he said, don't worry, my internet is cool. Nate's is always good, though. Can you please bring in comedian, actor, all-around funny guy, and our guy, Nate Jackson.
Back in 1942, I fought for my life with my brothers in arms. I asked them, what do you want me to wear to war? And they dressed me like her. I fought for my life in that war. I'm a Green Beret.
You know it. Come on now.
Look, Nate got already started. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, real quick, I just want to say, before we get into what's really popping, I just want to say I thought that it was very interesting that my brother was talking about colorism and all the depths of his conversation at the same time that babies were running around in his back seat. I just want to say that. I thought that was a very interesting contrast, the diaspora of seriousness and childrenhood running around in the back seat. I was like, brother, I want to take you serious, but there's a lot of babies doing a lot of stuff in the back.
That realism on the camera.
Right.
Nate Jackson, so tell us, before we talk about your act for this weekend, man, tell us, how's it going down there at the Super Funny Comedy Club? You're back open.
Yeah.
What's the response been like? How's the community responding to Nate Jackson Super Funny Comedy Club?
Right. So all jokes aside, literally yesterday, my hospitality manager had found the link on the Google for all the reviews. We had 19 5-star reviews. Everybody was raving about the spot. We were sold out. Both shows on Saturday of this past weekend sold out for all 5 shows the weekend before that. We're sold out next weekend for DC Young Fly. He added a 6th show and it sold out in 3 hours. This weekend, as in tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, we aren't sold out yet, but we're excited about it. And we have Mark Vieira, one of New York's kings of comedy. He's one of the funniest people I've ever seen grab a mic. He's hysterical. So I think the people of the Northwest need to come treat themselves to a laugh. Mark is very, very funny. Very funny. And not like raunchy funny. Like he's the funny that you can bring your auntie and y'all can have a great time together and both laugh until you cry.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't bring nobody you related to.
Yeah. Not one of the aunties or the grandmama. Nah.
Oh, so Mark Vieira is not going to be talking about Trey Holiday's Earth Tones?
Oh man.
No, but Mark Curry had a great time talking about her Earth Tones. And you know what? It's really not Mark's fault. Because if you're doing a show and you see a young lady wearing lime green and about $4,000 looking glasses, she draws your attention. He got to talking to her. He said, if you're dressed like that, what's your house look like? She said, my living room is earth tones. Now, what do you want him to do?
Sound like you be setting yourself up, huh?
I didn't know. Look, I was trying to enjoy the show. Mark was hilarious, though.
Yeah.
All good and fun.
All right, Nate. So, man, tell our viewers here, what's the best way to get up with Nate Jackson Super Funny Comedy Club? How do you want people to interact with you? How do they get tickets? All that good stuff.
I'll do you one better. Let's just make it a thing. Let's just make it Converge Thursdays, and y'all can have some tickets. All you got to do is send your name, number, and email to Anjanee. That's ANJENEE at superfunnycomedyclub.com. I'm going to say that again because sometimes people be like, wait, what? I'm driving. I'm doing an interview. My kids are in the back. I missed that. ANJENEE, Anjanee at superfunnycomedyclub.com. You send your name, number, and email. And our table seat 4. So I'm going to cap it at 4. That way we maximize our seating chart. So get yourself and 3 friends, send your email off, and pull up tonight. The show's at 7:30, starring international headliner, comedian extraordinaire, Mark Vieira. And also featuring for him will be Big Irish J. And I might touch the mic a little bit because I got a couple thoughts I want to share. But that's what we're doing tonight, man, and it's going down.
All right, man. One, I appreciate, and I'm sure our viewers appreciate all the love that you've been giving them there, and we're gonna make sure, and we're gonna actually put that in the link when we clip this later, because that's a mouthful of somebody.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back and remember all the letters in the right order.
Yeah, but man, really,
let me make it easier. Just info at superfunnycomedyclub.com.
Oh, we'll work it out.
Yeah,
we can teach people some new names. So
okay.
Either way, we'll get it out there. Nate Jackson, again, man, want to always tell you, man, we're super proud of you, man, and what you're doing. And it's always a pleasure to want to uplift and uphold your works to the community.
So I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Omari. And what we do is when we meet new members and we feel like we need to know what they're capable of, sometimes we sing a song where we say, how long will it take? And we want to know how long will it take for them to set something out, do a hop, teach us something. We just want to know how long will it take. And so I'm going to apply that to this and say, Omari Salisbury, How long will it take until you're in the building yourself?
All right. Okay.
There you go, Nate.
You put the challenge out. I think that you'll see me down there this weekend. I'm gonna come to this show. I will be there, and another thing, that this fine fraternity that Nate's a part of. One of their other sayings that I temporarily jack but always credit is that friendship is essential to the soul. You know what I'm saying? And in Nate Jackson, you've always got a good friend.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Nate. You see, Nate Jackson.
Love it, man. I love that too. He's like, how long will it take for you to come out there? I love that.
I went to HBCU, so I used to be out there on the yard. You know what I'm saying? And so every once in a while, I post that on Facebook. I always give the cues the credit, but it's like friendship is essential to the soul, and that's so very true. Speaking of friendship, I got another graphic, another friend, and actually not even friend, family, Converge family. Besa Gordon coming right up, right after the break. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey everybody, it's a celebration and you're invited to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Morning Update Show with us at Converge Media. Join us on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for a special episode of the Morning Update Show as we look back at our first year on air and celebrate the bright future before us. So save the date and join me and my partner in crime, Trey Holiday, on Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. for the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special, live across all Converge media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. We are now joined by Fam Bam.
Yeah.
Besa Gordon. All you, please bring in Besa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good stuff. How y'all doing?
Yeah, what's happening?
Oh my God, I'm so hungover, but we're here. We're making it. All is well.
Oh my goodness, this seems like one of y'all kind of conversations.
Well, you know what? We have no problem with that, right, Besa? No problem whatsoever. First off, let me say your photo that he used in the graphic looking fabulous. Please let the audience know a little bit more about this weekend's Rewind with Besa.
First of all, I have to say shout out to Jake for taking that photo. I've always wanted like a dope little photo of me in the middle of the street, and I finally got it. So shout out to Jake on that one. But in terms of this weekend's episode for the Rewind with Besa, okay, we have a few things to talk about. Let me get my little sticky notes. I did a list for 15 PNW artists that you should know about. So we're going to talk about that list. And honestly, it's so interesting when I do these lists. I never really think that people are going to see them, but people seen it. Then we're also going to talk about Cardi B making history. My thoughts on Coming to America 2. The Grammys is on Sunday, so obviously I have to give my predictions on that. And then we're going to talk about the stimulus check, the third stimulus check, which is ridiculous, but we'll get into why I think that's so ridiculous on Saturday. And then obviously we got to talk about this damn royal family interview because I have thoughts beyond thoughts.
Look, that royal family interview is getting some love on Converge. I know Clapback Culture is talking about that tonight. You know what? Literally, I just appreciate you always bringing that pop culture right here to the Converge set and to the Converge audience. It's beautiful, Besa.
Just doing my little part.
Oh, you know what? Bring O back in. Look.
He's like opening the door slowly, like, can I come in?
Bro, it's all. I'm just saying. I just do my part. All right, so that's this Saturday at 2 p.m. The Rewind with Besa. Sounds like it's a lot of stuff that's going on. You mind if I jump in on your show on Saturday? I'm around.
Pull up.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up. So I'm gonna be there as well for at least a few minutes with Besa Saturday at 2:00. And real quick, Besa, tell everybody how they can follow you on social media.
You can find me on social media at Besa Gordon, BesaGordon, literally everything. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever.
All right, good stuff. We'll see you Saturday, Besa.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, love it, man.
Yo, that her show, like I done directed a few of those shows, man. And And actually, I think she'll be here the last. It looked so good. She did the last show right here in the studio. We're going to take a quick merch break. When we come back, we're talking about the legacy of SBI. You're watching the Morning Update Show. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. So all this week, we've been highlighting a sit-down interview we did with Seattle Vocational Institute, some of the graduates there, people who have gone through SBI, and also members of the CDC PDA, the Central District Community Preservation and Development Association. And what they're trying to do is raise $26 million to bring SBI basically up to code to be able to use. They haven't, the building's been unusable for the last 2 years. It's a heavy lift, but when you hear a lot of the stories of how SBI's impacted the people in the Central District really for decades, then you kind of get a different kind of view of the potential of what SBI can offer our young people into the future. This is Gerald Bradford. This is the last segment this week of our SBI interviews.
I'm born in Seattle, Washington. I went to Garfield High School, graduated from the University of Washington, and I've spent a number of years just doing outreach work in the community, trying to uplift at-risk populations in this community. I worked in this building for over 10 years. Over the years that this building has been closed, there has been no programs centered for Black and brown folks in the Central District in order to be able to give them an economic driver to push them towards basic education and or being able to get into a quality career. This building provided folks with an opportunity to be able to get actual careers. When I really became clear of what SBI was, SOIC, it was a training facility that was set up strictly in the Central District in order to be able to give folks technical training in order for them to find work. And so being able to have a physical location in the Central District in order to be able to provide these services were important. In my opinion, I believe that the Seattle colleges treated Seattle Vocational like a stepchild, which was to not be able to give it the proper funding or the proper repair or maintenance what was needed in order for it to be a viable building, so that it could be a useful tool for the community. The building has been neglected. It has not been occupied for the last 2 years, and due to that, maintenance has not been occurring. In order for the building to be totally rehabbed, we need about $26 million in order for this building to be totally repaired.
What makes this particular building and this location so special that even though demographics have shifted, that you want to remain here and invest in it?
My view is if we build this building up to where it truly can be, which is a model for the 21st century, people will come to it. You know, that is my drive, which is to rebuild my home and rebuild my village. At least if we have this particular building set up, we will actually have physical spaces that are producing economic drivers so that people can say, go to 22nd and Jackson, they're really working and helping out the Black and brown community. And at the end of the day, when we increase opportunities, we create healthy communities.
All right, Gerald Bradford there.
Yeah, I mean, he's so right. When we increase the opportunities, we increase healthy communities. I love how he said that at the end. And I think that really, when we talk about the history of SBI, as we've been doing this week, it really showcases, again, a real community-led institution. And it is unfortunate that Seattle colleges kept deferring the maintenance on the building to now needing a $26 million investment just to get it right. You know, this is something that I am, you know, encouraging folks to understand more and more about. I mean, clearly, so many of us in the community really want this place to thrive.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, I hope that this week here, I'm showing these segments where we talked to Amisha and Rashida, John Collins III, and now Gerald Bradford, that people are able to get a sense of what SBI meant to the community there in the Central District, and also the wider Black community, because people from all over Seattle. That was an epicenter right there. The old SOIC and then SBI. We're gonna play the whole interviews all together. It's about 35 or 40 minutes next week. People can hear this in-depth discussion. We're getting ready to get out of here a few minutes early today. I know that you got to run. So before we get out of here, is there anything that you have to share or say?
I mean, look at this sun popping. I'm gonna go right to it. Been my message this whole week. Man, get out there and enjoy a nice brisk walk. So many of us been cooped up. I've been able to walk this week, and honestly, I have felt all the better for it. So I'm gonna encourage you guys to do the same.
All right. That being said, a few things, a lot of stuff. One, anniversary show. March 19th, 7 p.m. Save the date, save the date, save the date. It's coming for you. Tonight at 7 o'clock, Clapback Culture with Mike Davis. And Mike, he can hop on anywhere, right? With Mike Davis and Julia Jesse. That's at 7 p.m. And then, of course, we're back tomorrow. So that being said, I want to remind you to go forward in your purpose and go forward in humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.